Hi everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Pat.
And I'm Elsie.
So Elsie, were you interested in science when you were at school?
Yes, I was, and I was especially interested in the experiments we did.
Yeah, they're always fun.
What about you, Pat?
Yes, I very much was interested. It was one of my favorite subjects, and it was an area I always thought I would end up working in.
Really?
I studied biochemistry,
Wow.
which is about kind of chemical reactions in living systems when I was at university.
And here you are, an English teacher.
Yeah, true. Life never quite works out the way we expect it to. I did work in a couple of jobs that were related to science, but almost every job I've had while working has not really had much to do with science. It's just different kinds of desk work. Maybe I should have studied English, history, and theatre instead, but who knows? If I'd done that, maybe I would never have come to Taiwan in the first place.
Maybe you would have become a scientist.
It's possible.
So do you admire any scientists?
Yeah, I think you have to admire the ones who made discoveries that saved a lot of lives, like Louis Pasteur, who found ways of making things safe to eat, or Joseph Lister, who made sure all operations were done in clean environments. Then there's Alexander Fleming, who discovered the important drug penicillin by accident.
All I know is those three scientists are all men.
That is true, and to be fair, science has been mostly a male career for centuries. However, there are many important women scientists as well, and in this month's article, we're going to learn about two of them. Let's read through the article and find out who they are.
Reading.
Honoring female scientists on International Women's Day. On March 8th, International Women's Day, we honor the achievements of great women. Female scientists have long been ignored, even when their work has influenced important discoveries. One such scientific hero was British scientist Rosalind Franklin, whose work led to the discovery of the structure of DNA. As a scientist at King's College London, Franklin spent hundreds of hours taking X-rays of DNA. One of these X-rays showed a clear picture of DNA's structure. A colleague who Franklin didn't get along with showed it to a competing scientist at Cambridge University without Franklin's knowledge. This scientist, James Watson, and his colleague Francis Crick used it as the basis for their famous DNA model. It showed DNA's special double helix shape. The two published their work without including Franklin's name. Watson and Crick won the Nobel Prize for their work on DNA. Sadly, Franklin died of cancer at the age of 37. She wasn't awarded the Nobel Prize along with Watson and Crick because it can't be given to someone after their death. However, she was as essential as Watson and Crick in this important scientific discovery.
So, first, we're explaining why we're putting this article in our March issue. It says, on March 8th, International Women's Day, we honor the achievements of great women. To honor something or someone is to pay public respect to that person or thing. We could give them some kind of prize or award, or we could make some kind of TV show or movie about their lives, or write about them, and say they deserve praise and they deserve to be recognized by everyone and celebrated for what they did. Here's an example. The city honored the brave men and women who worked for its fire department.
Honor 这个动词代表向某人表示敬意。那 March 8th 这个就是3月8号，也就是国际妇女节。那我们在这天呢，跟全世界的妇女致敬。And we're also honoring these women's achievements.
That's right. An achievement is something you have done. It's something that has taken a lot of work or skill. It wasn't easy. An achievement is something you'll be proud of and which other people will be impressed by. For example, one of my proudest achievements is being considered for a writing award. I didn't win, but the story I wrote was good enough that people thought it might. Here's another example. When writing a personal statement, include all of your major achievements.
Achievement 这个名词代表成就，那它的动词形式同学们要会哦，它是 achieve A+Chieve 达成达到。再来给同学一个例句 Dennis is trying his best to achieve his goals. To achieve one's goals 代表的是达成某人的目标。Now, as we said in our introduction, most famous scientists are men.
That's right. In our article, we say female scientists have long been ignored, even when their work has influenced important discoveries.
虽然历史上呢有许多女性科学家的研究影响了很多重要的发现，但她们还是常常被忽略。The article gives an example. It says, one such scientific hero was British scientist Rosalind Franklin, whose work led to the discovery of the structure of DNA.
Cool. Now, if something leads to another thing, or past tense led to another thing, it caused that thing. It was a factor in making it happen.
Lead to 这个片语呢，代表促成、导致。那 to 是个介系词哦，所以后面呢你要加的是名词或是动名词。那 lead 的三态跟同学们复习一下，它是 lead, led, led。那课文中提到的 led to the discovery of the structure of DNA， 也就是英国的这位女科学家 Rosalind Franklin。她的研究促成了 DNA 结构的发现。So let's learn more about this woman.
Okay, the article says, as a scientist at King's College London, Franklin spent hundreds of hours taking X-rays of DNA. Now, when we talk about our jobs or our hobbies, we often use the phrase spend time and then the V-I-N-G form of a verb. For example, in my job now, I spend a lot of time writing and reading English materials. At home, I spend time feeding and playing with my son. We always use the V-I-N-G form of the verb in these sentences. So, for example, this weekend, Marjorie spent 3 hours working in her garden. There's a related pattern we can use when we want to tell someone how much time something took or will take. So we could say, it takes a person an amount of time to plus verb this thing. So if we want to talk about the past, we could say, it took 3 hours for Tim to finish his homework. We can also use this pattern to estimate the amount of time something will take. For example, it will take us 3 days to build this wall, for example.
今天介绍的花费动词呢，我们介绍到的是 spend 这个字。那人会在主词的地方哦，人花时间或钱做某件事情。Somebody spends time doing something。后面的动作记得要用动名词来表示。所以文章说到 ，Franklin spent hundreds of hours taking X-rays of DNA。那另外一个花费动词呢是 take， 通常呢主词是个虚主词 it， 后面接上 takes。It takes somebody 再加上时间再加上 to do something.
Yeah, so we could say it takes a lot of time to bake a cake because there are lots of steps, for example. Now, in that, we talked about X-rays. An X-ray is a kind of scan. You use a special kind of magnetic wave called an X-ray to look at something, and you'll get this kind of black, white, and grey image that shows the inside of something. X-rays can pass through many materials that normal light can't. For example, a very common use of X-rays is to look at bones. X-rays can also see inside luggage at an airport. For example, we could say the doctor showed me an X-ray and told me I'd broken my arm.
X-ray 同学们一定很熟悉，它的意思就是 X 光照片或是 X 光。那文章说到啊 ，Rosalind Franklin 过去花了数百个小时照 DNA 的 X 光片。The X-rays she took were of DNA.
The full name of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid.
Wow.
I'm not going to spell it, but only the scientists watching this will need to know the full word. The important message about DNA is that it's the code in our body that contains all the information for our genes. So it's the information for how everything in our body, all the cells, all the parts, can be made.
DNA 简单来说就是去氧核糖核酸，可以组成遗传指令。那基因就是 DNA 序列来承载的。
So back to the article, and we see that one of these X-rays showed a clear picture of DNA's structure. This means we could finally see how it all fits together, which no one knew at the time.
However, we also see that a colleague who Franklin didn't get along with showed it to a competing scientist at Cambridge University without Franklin's knowledge.
That's not good. Okay, well, we have a few words to look at here. The first one is colleague, which is someone you work with, a co-worker. Now, colleague has a hard G, a G sound, so it's not like the soft G in college. Okay, colleague, college. Different spelling, different pronunciation.
所以我们这边要念作 colleague， 同仁、同僚或同事。Are we colleagues?
Yes, we are. So in this article, we're talking about a colleague Franklin didn't get along with. If you get along with someone, you like them and can easily spend time with them. If you don't get along with someone, you often argue with them, you find it hard to work with them, and so on. Another similar phrase we can also say is get on with. So get along with, get on with mean the same thing.
A get along well with B 代表两人相处融洽。那如果是 A and B don't get along with each other 代表两个人不合。And what did this colleague do?
He showed Franklin's DNA X-ray to a competing scientist. Here, competing is used as an adjective to show that there is a competition between two people in the same area. They're both trying to make the same thing or discover the same thing, and they're both trying to be the first. So think of Apple and Samsung phones. They are competing brands. Or Asus and Acer are two competing Taiwanese computer companies.
Competing 这个字呢是形容词哦，表示互相竞争的。那它的动词形式 compete 代表竞争。那我们也可以说这两个科学家 they are competitors，他们是互相竞争的人。
Now, this competing scientist worked at Cambridge University. A university is a school of higher learning. People go there after high school. Now, we can also say college, and in most casual speech, college and university mean the same thing. There are some differences, though. British English speakers might use college to say one building in a university, or a different kind of school where people just go to study and get qualified. Now, I think of a university as a place where a lot of research goes on as well, whereas for me in colleges, it's mostly about taking classes. But in US English, college, university are basically the same. For example, Pat went to the University of Sheffield when he was 18.
University 就是大学啦，那它是规模比较大的哦。如果是规模比较小的呢，我们可以叫它 college。那 college 也可以当作学院来解释。And what do we mean when we say Franklin's colleague showed the X-ray to someone else without her knowledge?
We mean that she didn't know he'd done it. And of course, she hadn't given him permission. She didn't say, sure, share this picture with these other scientists working on exactly the same thing.
Knowledge 是名词啊，代表知识。过去我们都会学 knowledge is power， 知识就是力量。可是呢，这边它指的是知情的意思。Without somebody's knowledge， 它代表的是在某人不知情的状况下。那有一位跟 Franklin 不合的同事呢，将他的发现告诉一位跟 Franklin 竞争的科学家。So what was the result of all this?
Our article says this scientist, James Watson, and his colleague, Francis Crick, used it as the basis for their famous DNA model. The word basis means the facts or support for an idea, an argument, a belief, or something like that. It's kind of like the first cause or reason for something. For example, the famous scientist Isaac Newton. According to a story, an apple fell from a tree and hit him, and this was the basis for his theory of how gravity worked. You could talk about a basis for someone's belief, a basis for their fear, a basis for why they think in a certain way. If there's no reason for any of these things, we can say they have no basis. For example, my parents have no basis for not letting me go on vacation with my friends. They don't have a reason.
Basis 这名词呢是基础，那例句当中的 have no basis for doing something 代表没有理由去做某件事情。So what we are saying is that Watson and Crick used Franklin's X-ray to finish their famous DNA model. It was the information they needed.
Exactly. We see that it showed DNA's special double helix shape. A helix is kind of like a wire shape that goes in a twisting form, and a double helix is when these two twist around one another. I think it's easiest to show with this picture. So here's a helix. There are some bacteria that have this form, for example, and here's a double helix, which is what DNA would look like if you saw it in an X-ray.
如图所示，刚刚 Pat 画的 helix 那就是螺旋。Double helix 那就是双螺旋。
Yep. Next, the article says the two published their work without including Franklin's name. Boo!
That's not fair at all, and neither is this. The article says Watson and Crick won the Nobel Prize for their work on DNA.
A prize is a special gift you get for winning something or doing extremely well. Like if you win a race, you'll get a medal as a prize. The Nobel Prize is basically the greatest award for research in science. Here's another example. The prize for winning this singing contest is 10,000 NT dollars and the chance to appear on a TV show.
Prize 这个名词代表奖项、奖品 ，Nobel Prize 那就是诺贝尔奖了。Watson 跟 Crick 还因此得了诺贝尔奖。But Franklin's story doesn't get better later in life. We see that sadly, Franklin died of cancer at the age of 37.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if X-rays were kind of involved, like using that too much in the days when it wasn't as safe. Now, we use the phrase died of to show the cause of someone's death, and mostly from illness, like someone died of cancer, died of a heart attack, and so on. We can also say someone died of their injuries or died of old age.
通常呢 die of 后面会加一个疾病的名称，代表死于某疾病。那如果是死于意外的话，我们会用 died from an accident.
Yeah, or we could say died in.
Died in an accident 也是可以的。But we know about her work now. Can she get the Nobel Prize too?
Unfortunately not. We see that she wasn't awarded the Nobel Prize along with Watson and Crick because it can't be given to someone after their death. The phrase along with just means the same as well as, or at the same time as, basically kind of like together.
Along with 代表还有或是与什么一起。那因为诺贝尔奖只颁给还在世的人，所以虽然我们现在知道了 Franklin 的发现，但他已经过世了，所以没有办法和 Watson 还有 Crick 一起得诺贝尔奖。Franklin is recognized for her work today, though.
That's right. The article finishes by saying, however, she was as essential as Watson and Crick in this important scientific discovery. The word essential means extremely important. It's something you can't do without. It's a must-have.
Essential 这个形容词也就是必要的，所以呢，虽然没有机会得到诺贝尔奖，但现在在这项重要的科学发现当中 ，Franklin 和 Watson 还有 Crick 一样重要。And that brings us to the end of the first part of the article. So it's time for today's For You Chat question.
For You Chat.
So today's question relates to what happened to Franklin. Has someone ever stolen your idea and claimed that it was their own work? And what did you do?
Actually, it never happened to me.
No? Okay.
And I haven't stolen anybody's ideas either.
Good.
What about you?
Well, there is a phrase, great artists steal. I will admit to having been influenced by ideas from very popular writers and maybe using some similar ideas at times with my own take on them. Like just to kind of maybe have something in a story that people might recognize. But that's okay because that's just using your influences.
And that's for your like inspirations.
Yes,
right?
exactly. It's almost kind of like I'm honoring the original writer maybe by using this name or this word or something like that. Nothing serious. I'm not stealing their whole books and saying I wrote that. And as far as I know, no one's done that to me. But maybe I will go online and search to see if someone has ever stolen one of my book ideas. What I have done in the past is you can copyright your own work. Basically, as soon as you write it, it's protected. But to prove it, you can do stuff with the electronic files and send them to different accounts. So there's a timestamp and say, look, I wrote this 6 years ago, here's proof. So if anyone ever tries to steal that idea, your story, you can go, no, 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 I'm going to sue you.
Yeah, that's a way to protect ourselves.
Exactly, yeah, and musicians can do that as well. They can keep records of when they first recorded something. Artists find it more difficult because they're often painting or sculpting, so they can't really put a time stamp on it in the same way you can with computer stuff. But I guess they could take a photo these days and then they can date the photo. So I'm lucky so far. No one has ever stolen my idea, and all I've done is kind of playfully and respectfully borrowed other people's ideas. Only just in a very, I honor you, if we use that word from earlier, by kind of remembering your ideas. So that's what I have done, and I will admit that. But that's the end of the article, but not the end of this whole article. We've got another scientist to look at tomorrow. Let's see you then, and we'll talk about her.
Honoring female scientists on International Women's Day. On March 8th, International Women's Day, we honor the achievements of great women. Female scientists have long been ignored, even when their work has influenced important discoveries. One such scientific hero was British scientist Rosalind Franklin, whose work led to the discovery of the structure of DNA. As a scientist at King's College London, Franklin spent hundreds of hours taking X-rays of DNA. One of these X-rays showed a clear picture of DNA's structure. A colleague who Franklin didn't get along with showed it to a competing scientist at Cambridge University without Franklin's knowledge. This scientist, James Watson, and his colleague Francis Crick used it as the basis for their famous DNA model. It showed DNA's special double helix shape. The two published their work without including Franklin's name. Watson and Crick won the Nobel Prize for their work on DNA. Sadly, Franklin died of cancer at the age of 37. She wasn't awarded the Nobel Prize along with Watson and Crick because it can't be given to someone after their death. However, she was as essential as Watson and Crick in this important scientific discovery.
Vocabulary Review.
Honor. The city's mayor honored the young woman who saved a child's life during the flood. Achievement. Winning the final game of the season was a great achievement for our soccer team. Ray. I closed the curtains over the bus windows to block out the sun's rays. University. There are more than 100 universities in Taiwan, and many of them have international students. Basis. Johnny thinks he should be the class leader on the basis that he has the best grades. Prize. Joan won a prize for being the fastest runner in the race.
智慧小补帖
Colleague, helix, essential.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net